Big developments in the case against Casey Anthony. Today, her defense team is going to be questioning some key witnesses in her murder trial. Casey Anthony is accused of killing her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. Now, we're going to be there at 9 o'clock this morning when the depositions start, when her attorneys will depose a key investigator along with chief medical examiners. So we're talking about 58 minutes or so, and we wanted to get a little insight before the depositions. Here with us now is defense attorney Richard Hornsby to break down what's happening today and how it could impact the prosecution's case. Thanks so much for coming in, Richard.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're talking about some big names, the chief medical examiner, Dr. G, and also some of her employees, including the deputy medical examiner. Why is this significant? Why should people at home care?
Well, in reality, Dr. G herself is probably going to be anticlimactic as far as the case goes, because her prognosis is very obvious, is that Kaylee died by human hands, but it's unknown exactly how she died. And that's a very typical report given the circumstances of Kaylee's death. What I think will probably be more important to the defense's perspective is Associate Medical Examiner Gary Oltz. He's the chief pathologist in charge of the whole case after Dr. G. And he's important because he collected a lot of the evidence. And as we know, yesterday the defense filed a motion trying to have this evidence tested for touch DNA, which is kind of a new way of getting minor traces of DNA to see if maybe there was another party that could have been there. And so I think his testimony about how he collected the evidence will be very important to the defense. Overall, though, the medical examiner's office doesn't add a lot to the case because they don't know how Kaylee died.
Right.
Only the person that did it does.
And with this deputy medical examiner, are they trying to raise reasonable doubt here?
Well, I think what they're going to focus on is his collection techniques, the methodology he used, who else could have been exposed to this materials. Because remember, if the defense does identify other DNA on this material, well, the state's going to have to rush to find out who that DNA belonged to. Mm-hmm. And if they can't identify who the DNA belonged to, then you're going to have a very big reasonable doubt. Because remember, the defense has been pointing at a third party the whole time, and they've always been raising the specter that Kaylee was placed there while Casey was in jail. And so if you find DNA through this touch DNA method and you don't identify who it belongs to, hopefully a law enforcement officer, well, the defense has a very large reasonable doubt issue.
Okay, and let's talk about this new defense team member, Dorothy Clay Sims. She's supposed to debunk junk science. What role is she going to play in these depositions, do you think? I mean, is she going to be the lead person who deposes?
Well, again, I don't know that I would assume that she would be the lead person who deposes, because I do know that she has a lot more experience dealing with medical personnel in general than either Jose Baez or Cheney Mason, even though Cheney's a very experienced attorney. But I think what Ms. Sims is going to be very important to the defense for is going to be more when you have either body farm people, the trunk.
Tennessee body farm.
Exactly. Or if it were to go to the penalty phase and the state were to call in some type of mental health professionals to say that Casey wasn't suffering for anything. Because what Ms. Sims has been very good at through her career and staked her career on is identifying people who are kind of biased to begin with in their judgments. They have a preordained idea of what they want to find, and they don't do the methodology right. And that's where Ms. Sims has been very good at honing in on and exposing to the other side.
Should be very interesting, and we're going to be following all of the latest developments. Defense attorney Richard Hornsby, thanks so much for coming in and joining us. On top of the latest developments in the case, just sign up for our exclusive text alert. Send Anthony to Fox 4U 36948. Heidi.
Mike, thanks.